Another day, another foundation. Today we are trying this from Victoria Beckham Beauty. These are the new foundation drops. I just got mine. This is first impression. I haven't swatched them or applied them. I'm going to share my thoughts with you today and we're going to talk about it. Is this worth the very high price tag? Let's see. But if you're new here, my name is Blair. I do all kinds of beauty content here on my channel. I would love for you to stick around, subscribe if you have not already, but let's just get right into it. Let's try this out. Let's get into this new foundation from Victoria Beckham Beauty. This is a very, very expensive product. In fact, I kind of was astounded when I saw how much it is. This product retails for $110. Yes, $110. And I gasped truly when I saw the price. I shouldn't have been shocked, but I kind of was when I saw it. This brand is very expensive anyway, and this foundation is no exception. So this is what it looks like. It's in a black little bottle here. It's plastic, so it's not super heavy or anything. It feels pretty nice and sturdy for a plastic, but it is plastic. It's black. It has the Victoria Beckham blue on the top with the VB. And this is 1 fluid ounce of product, which is pretty standard for most foundations and skin tints. But this retails for $110. It comes in 19 shades, and I got the shade number 4. I'm hoping this is a good shade match, but you never know when you order online. It sounds very liquidy. It does say on the back to shake very well. But the main reason for the price of this product is because it is in collaboration with Augustinus Bader, much like her concealer. So this is the concealer pen. I believe it came out around this time last year. I did a video on this as well when it came out, but this was also in collaboration with Augustinus Bader, and it's another very expensive complexion product. So I'm not going to get too into Augustinus Bader and the brand, but basically all of their products have TFC8 in them. There's a whole explanation on it. It's basically what that brand is known for, and that skincare line, I'm sure you're aware, is very, very, very expensive. So that's, in my mind, what you're paying for here is the fact that it's Victoria Beckham Beauty, which is a more expensive brand anyway, and then the fact that it was made in collaboration with Augustinus Bader, and that patented TFC8 is also in here. But let's just get right into this. I have already done my SPF and all that. So let's just get right into it. I'm gonna get some on the back of my hand here. Okay, so this is shade number 4. Ooh, okay, so it's very, very thin. Kind of like a serum-y texture, I would say. It feels really nice, very hydrating. Looks like it definitely has some glow to it, which I would expect. Typically skin tints, you know, typically they're more on the glowy, hydrating side. Every now and then we'll get one that's a little bit more matte, but typically this is the type of finish that you see with a skin tint. And that does look like a pretty good shade match on my hand there. So hopefully it is. This was described as light with neutral undertones. All right, let's apply it. Now it is called the foundation drops. So I'm assuming like you're supposed to drop it on the skin, like in little drops, I guess. That's actually how I saw Victoria applying it on herself. I saw her do a video on Instagram a few days ago, and she was just like making really small little dots on her face with it. She barely used any product, but you know, Victoria Beckham, she doesn't need a lot of product. She doesn't need a lot of coverage, so she can get away with that. But I am kind of unsure how to apply this. I guess we'll just kind of start with a few little drops. It's supposed to be light coverage, and of course with skin tints you can use your hands if you want. I am not a hands person, so I'm going to use a brush that I always use, the 115 from BK Beauty, and let's just see what this is all about. If you want a little bit more coverage from a skin tint, typically I would suggest applying it with a brush. And I definitely want a little bit of coverage from it, so we're gonna go for a brush, and it does look like a pretty good shade match. Thank goodness. I was a little bit worried about that when I ordered it online, because you never know. If you're spending this much on a complexion product, you want it to be a good shade match. And it does look like this is, so that's good news. Okay, yeah, so it's blending in, you know, very quickly. Definitely see a good bit of glow right away, like we saw on the back of my hand. And it does look like you are getting some coverage from it. It's actually a little bit more coverage than I was thinking it was going to be. So there it is, applied on my skin. So right away, definitely a lot of glow, a lot of hydration. I would assume this is probably a product that you could get away with applying a little bit less skincare to prep your skin, just because it does have the Augustinus Bader TFC8 in it, but also just because it's more of a glowy type of product. I bet this feels very hydrating on the skin, so I think you could probably get away with not over prepping your skin with this, but it's very, very glowy, very, very glowy. Light coverage, I would agree, although I will say it has a little bit more than I thought. It's not, you know, a medium coverage by any means, but it's a little bit more than like a standard very light coverage skin tint. It's very pretty. I mean, it looks nice on my skin. I'm not seeing anything that I don't like. Do I think everyone's gonna like this? Probably not, just because of the hydration and the glow level. I'm guessing this is probably gonna be more for normal to dry skin or more mature skin. I mean, it does look really nice on my skin. It looks pretty smooth, even though it is a glowier, more hydrating product. I mean, it's sitting nicely on my skin. It's just, it has a lot of glow. So, you know, do with that information what you will. But is it pretty? Yeah. Is it worth the price tag? Obviously, we just started the video, but you know, it's a very expensive product. You're paying for the skincare, only you can really decide if it's worth it or not, you know? Before we move on and do the rest of the face, I'm gonna let this sit on my skin for a few minutes. I just wanna see if it kind of dries down at all, or if it stays like pretty tacky feeling, because right now it definitely still feels pretty tacky on my skin, and I'm curious if it sets at all. So I'm gonna wait a few minutes and I'll be back. All right, so it's been about 5 minutes, and you know, it feels like it has set a little bit. It's definitely not as tacky feeling on my skin as it was earlier, but it still feels a little bit tacky. So I'm guessing this is definitely going to be one that you want to set with some powder, especially if you're more on the oily side. It definitely doesn't look as shiny, and it's a little bit less tacky, but it still feels kind of wet on my skin. But let's go ahead and move into the rest of the makeup. So I'm going to apply a little bit of color corrector. This is the Caliray one. I'm just going to take a little bit of this. I could just go right in with her concealer, but I always apply some color corrector, so we're going to do that first. And then we'll move into applying her concealer. All right, let's apply some of the concealer. So this is the concealer pen, and it's also from the same line from Victoria Beckham Beauty. It does have Augustinus Bader TFC8 as well. I did review this when it came out last year. And to be completely honest, I don't reach for this concealer very much. Not because it's a bad product, but just because I typically like concealer with more coverage, because for me personally, I love a lighter coverage complexion product, like a skin tint, something like this. But I typically pair it with a concealer that has more coverage in areas where I need it, because I don't have perfectly even skin. I like something with more coverage. So when I say I don't use this much, it's not because it's a bad product. I think, you know, there's definitely a market out there for this product. But, you know, for me personally, I like something with a little bit more coverage, so I don't reach for mine a ton. But I think if you have dry skin, if you like a lighter coverage, if you have more mature skin, you would probably love this. And again, you know, you're paying really for the fact that it's in collaboration with Augustinus Bader. And if, you know, that's something that's important to you, if you're loyal to that brand and that skincare, maybe that's something that would be worth it for you. Because I know that brand is, a lot of people really love it. It's just, you know, it's very expensive and it's not going to be for everyone, but it is a nice product. It just isn't what I typically reach for in my everyday type of routine, but not because it's not a good product. And the coverage is decent on this concealer. I would say it's like a light medium at the most. I would not say you're gonna get a medium coverage. Even if you build it up, I would say it's light medium at the most. Let's move into some bronzer and some contour. So of course, whenever I get on the Victoria Beckham website, I rarely just buy one thing that I went there for. I usually end up adding something else to the cart, and in this case, I added two things to my cart. One of them being this product. This is the Contour Stylus. Now, I already own this product, but I own it in the marble shade, and I've got it in the lightest shade, which is Travertine. So I have tried this product before, just not this shade. I don't love the one that I have, which is marble, mainly because of the shade. I'm not a huge fan of it. And I don't love drawing cream products on the skin. I don't think they blend well that way. And I also think it makes your makeup kind of move around and you kind of move what you have underneath. So I don't ever apply products that way, and I wouldn't personally recommend applying cream products that way, but I kind of was curious to try the lighter shade of this, even if I don't use it on my face, but like as a cream shadow or around the lips. I think there's a lot of different ways you could use this. But anyways, this is shade Travertine. So you can see it's significantly lighter than marble, which is this one right here. And it's also cooler in tone than marble is right here. But I thought, you know, I'm kind of curious about the lighter shade, so I figured I would pick it up and test it while I was on the website. So let's go ahead and use this. Like I said, I don't typically apply products directly on the skin, but we're gonna do it for the sake of the video. And I know that's how a lot of people use this product, but I don't love doing it that way. I like how small these are, I will say. It's pretty easy in terms of like keeping the product where you want it, and I don't know, I like how tiny and precise it is. I like that you can use it on the eyes, you can use it all over the face, really. So I'm already very happy with the color. I think this color is gonna be better for me just looking at it. But let me grab a brush. Speaking of brush, I did get one of her brushes. That was the other thing they got me on. So when I went to check out, before I placed the order, this thing popped up and it said, if you add a brush to your order, it's 15% off or something. Well, that's all you had to say to me, because I love a makeup brush and I've been wanting this one. So this is her Sculpt and Blend brush, but these are gonna be more for powders, not creams. So I'm not gonna use that for this, but I did pick that up. We're gonna use a 109 from BK Beauty and start blending this in. Okay, yeah, already I'm loving the color of this. It's also blending pretty easily. So that was something else I noticed with mine, with marble. I found that it was kind of hard to blend in. But I almost wonder now, seeing this, if it was because of the shade maybe. The shade didn't work great for my skin tone and it made it a little bit more difficult. I don't know, but every time I would use this, I would always think that it was kind of difficult to blend. But this one is blending really nicely. I'm really loving the tone of Travertine for sure. So there is Travertine, blend it out, and yeah, I stand corrected. This one looks really good. It's very easy to blend. I love the color for my skin tone at least. And it did blend into my skin very, very nicely compared to the marble shade on me. I'm actually glad I ordered that. Maybe we'll use that a little bit later on my eyes as well. Let's just keep it going with some other Victoria Beckham since I have a lot from this brand. So let's apply some blush. This is one of my favorite products from the brand, the Cheeky Posh blushes, particularly this one in the shade Fame. I love this color. This is especially for fall. These like berry tones I really, really like. So I am gonna apply this one from the back of my hand, which is typically how I like to apply cream products like this, but this color, you've been around my channel for a while, you'll remember last year, I think it was last year, I started using this shade and absolutely loved it. I just think it's such a pretty tone. I also have the shade Playground, that's more of a warm nude color. That one is also pretty. I don't use that one as much as I use Fame. These blushes are, I would say, on the glowy side for sure. They're not like the glowiest cream blush that I've ever used, but they definitely are pretty hydrating on the skin. They're definitely not a matte formula, but they're not the most glowy blush that I've ever used, but they're beautiful. Okay, so I just applied a little bit of powder to this side of my face, and I did it for a short video that I'm doing, so I didn't film it, but I figured we could do the other side of my face together, and we'll use this new brush from her. So you do have a larger end here and then a smaller end. I'm gonna take the smaller end and I'm gonna use the powder that I used on the other side, which is this one. She does not have a powder yet. I'm assuming that's probably in the works, but she does not have a powder yet, so I am gonna use this one today, and I'm using this small side. I'm loving this powder from Fenty, and it did make a huge difference on this side of my face when I added a little bit of this powder. It's really good, really, really good. This brush is also really, really nice. It's very like heavy feeling. It feels super, super nice, very high quality, which I would expect from this brand. Okay, we're gonna use the other side as well, and I'm gonna use her powder bronzer. So this is the shade number 2. So her bronzers are two-tone. So one is typically a little bit cooler, one is more warm. And this is a nice formula. I will say that I don't reach for mine a ton, mainly because it gets hard pan really, really bad. And I don't know why. I feel like I constantly am trying to like scrape the hard pan off, but then it just comes back immediately. So for that reason, I don't use it a ton. But you can see this is one of the sides and this is the other one. This one's cooler, this one's warmer. But it's a very nice kind of satin feeling formula. I just wish it didn't get such bad hard pan. I find this product in particular is just, I don't know why, it just gets really bad hard pan. But I'm gonna get some of the cooler side with the larger end of this brush and just kind of add it over the top of that Travertine contour stylus. I do like this brush specifically for like powder, bronzer, and blush because it's on the smaller side, so it's not too big if you're trying to get more of a precise application. I find a lot of powder brushes are too big for me personally. This one is not. It's a very nice, like smaller size. All right, since we're applying all of Victoria Beckham products, I guess we'll keep going because I have a lot of them. I also have the highlighter stick. This is her Reflect highlighter in the shade Pearl. This is a beautiful product. In fact, this is one of my favorite products from the brand. I already have quite a bit of glow just from that skin tint, but we'll add a little bit of it. So this doesn't have much base pigment to it. It's just a lot of glow to the skin. Now, like I said, I already have a lot of glow, so I really don't need it, but I figure since I have it and I pulled it out, we'll use a little bit of it. This highlight is absolutely beautiful. One of my favorite things from the brand. A lot of people have asked me if this is similar to the Chanel balm. I forget what the exact name of it is, but you probably know what I'm talking about. There's a Chanel balm that is a very similar type of product. I have not tried that one, unfortunately, so I can't comment on how similar they are, but this is an absolutely beautiful cream highlighter if that's something that you like. Okay, I'm gonna quickly do my brows. I do actually have the Victoria Beckham brow blade. Is that what this is called? Or baby blade, I think is what it's called. But this is not a great shade for me right now. This is a little bit light and a little bit warm. I just recently taken my hair back to very close to my natural color. So this is not gonna match my hair right now. So I'm not gonna use this. That brow pencil is fine. It's not anything really, really special. So it's not a product that I would definitely absolutely recommend from the brand. But I'm gonna do my brows quickly off camera and then I'll be back and we'll move into a quick little eye look. Filled in my brows. Let's do a quick eye look. I do have several Victoria Beckham eye products. I have one of her old palettes. This is the signature palette that I believe came out when she launched the brand. I love this little palette. This is no longer available, unfortunately. I do have two of her newer ones that came out probably, I guess it was earlier this year. I have the olive one and then I also have the Victoria one. They're both pretty deep and not super everyday friendly for me personally. They're a little bit more something I would wear for a special occasion. They're just, you know, not really everyday palettes for me. The signature palette from her absolutely is an everyday palette, but since you can't get that anymore, I'm not gonna use that. I also have one of her eyeshadow sticks in the shade Trench, and I'm gonna swatch this as well because I kind of want to see how this compares to Travertine. I do really like this specific shade in Trench. It looks a little bit light on my hand because I have some product on my hand and my hand is a little bit darker right now. I have some sun on my hand, but I wanted to swatch this next to Travertine. Okay, so that is Trench. Hopefully you can see it. It's a little bit more of like a warm, like almost like a yellowy light brown. And then this is Travertine, which is what we used on my face for the contour. We're gonna go in with some Travertine on my eyes because I just kind of want to see how it looks as like an eyeshadow. And I'm just gonna blend that in with a 206 from BK Beauty. Ooh, it's a really nice tone on the eyes as well. I didn't prime my eyes or anything, so this is just going directly on a bare lid, but oh, I love that tone. Okay, now I'm really happy that I ordered Travertine. I almost didn't, because like I said, I wasn't a huge fan of marble on me, but now that I'm seeing Travertine, I'm glad that I ordered this. This formula is also a much creamier feeling formula and it has a lot of slip to it compared to the shadow stick and Trench. That one is more of a dry formula. It's not as creamy as this. I'm gonna take what's left on the brush and just go on the lower lash line as well. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of the bronzer, the powder bronzer, and I'm just gonna mix both shades. And I'm taking a really big fluffy shadow brush and just kind of going over that Travertine. just to kind of set it in place a little since we didn't use an eye primer or anything. And go under the eyes with this as well. And that's all we're gonna do on the eyes. Super easy, other than, of course, I have to use one of her Satin Kajal liners. This is another product that I love from the brand. I have almost all of them. I just pulled out a few. I use Cinnamon the most, which is kind of like a reddish brown, but I have a bunch of other colors too. So that's just a few of the shades, but we've got Cinnamon, Bronze, and Sequin Green. But these are great. They wear beautifully. They do really well in the waterline. I highly recommend these. I'm gonna take Cinnamon. Like I said, this is definitely my most used. And I'm just gonna kind of apply it on the outer half of my eye. I'm gonna take that 206 that we used and kind of smudge it out a little bit. These liners are great. Very, very nice. Very long wearing. Highly recommend. I do not have the Victoria Beckham mascara, or I believe there's two different mascaras. I don't have them right now. I've tried both. They're not my favorite, to be honest. I wouldn't repurchase either one of them. They were just okay to me. So I'm gonna quickly do some mascara and then I'll come back and we'll finish up with the lips. Okay. Finally, for lips, I do have two of her lip liners. I have shade 2 and shade 5. I love them both. Shade 5 is more of a brown. Shade 2 is more of a, like a true pinky beige color. I like both though. So I have shade 5 right there and shade 2. Both super nice. I'm probably gonna use a little bit of both. I'm gonna start with shade 2. I like her pencils a lot actually. They're very creamy, but they're pretty long wearing. So again, that was shade number 2, and then I'm gonna take a little bit of 5 and I'm gonna put that right in the center on top and bottom. And then I do have two of her lipsticks. I have Girl and I have Twist. I'll swatch them both for you. I prefer Twist of the two. Girl is a little bit light for me and it's a little bit more cool toned than I like typically, but it is a pretty shade. So that there is Girl and that is Twist. Probably gonna take a little bit of Twist. And then, because why not, I'm gonna take a little bit of the blush. Honestly, I could have just used the blush that we used and not used the lipstick, but just took a little bit of the Fame color. And then finally, since I have it, I'm gonna take a little bit of the Posh gloss in the shade Martini. This is just kind of a light, pretty clear gloss with some golden shimmer in it. All right, that is pretty much a full face of Victoria Beckham Beauty. I didn't really intend to do that, but I figure since I have the products, I would go ahead and do it. It makes sense in this video. But let's chat about the skin tint. I did just decide I'm gonna do a wear test on this. It's a little bit later in the day when I'm filming this. I got started a little bit later today, so I'm not gonna be able to do a really long wear test, but I am gonna wear this and I'll do at least one check-in and then finish up the video a little bit later. But first impression on this, beautiful, beautiful product. Do I think everyone's gonna love it? No. I think it's gonna be best for normal to dry skin or more mature skin, unless you have oily skin. If you have oily skin, I just think this is probably gonna be too much hydration and glow for you. Although I will say, once I added that Fenty powder, I mean, it made it much more, and it definitely took down the shine quite a bit. So with a good setting powder, you could probably make it work if you have an oilier skin type, but are you gonna wanna do that? I don't know. It is a pretty product, but again, you're mainly paying for Augustinus Bader and the TFC8 complex that is in here. So only you can decide if it's worth spending your money on. It's a very expensive product, and it's going to be great for some people and, you know, not for others. But that's true of all makeup. It is beautiful though. I mean, with this, the rest of the makeup on, it looks really nice on my skin. I'm really happy with it right now, but I do want to wear it and see what I think in a few hours, and obviously continue to wear it again after today. But it is a pretty product. It's exactly what I would expect from this brand. I do think it's pretty, but is it extremely, extremely expensive? Yes, it is. And I don't think everyone's gonna love it. I'm gonna wear this, like I said, and I'll do at least one check-in, maybe two, and we'll kind of wrap up the video a little bit later. But those are my initial thoughts. If I were going to compare it to something, I would say it is definitely similar to Lisa Eldridge Skin Tint, if you're familiar with that. I do think it's similar to that. However, I do think this one is a little bit more glowy. Lisa Eldridge, I would say, depending on your skin type and how you prep your skin, I would say it leans a little bit more satin. Not quite as glowy as this. It definitely does have a little bit of glow because it's pretty hydrating, but I do think this one has more glow than that one. But the consistency and just overall the coverage level does remind me of Lisa Eldridge. The other thing that comes to mind that I love, that you probably know if you watch my content, is the Estee Lauder Double Wear Sheer. That is a very similar texture, a very similar coverage level, but that one does set down a bit more than this does, and it's definitely more of a satin finish, maybe even slightly matte leaning, depending on how you prep your skin and your skin type. So it does kind of remind me of that. It's even in a similar package to this, but that has been a holy grail product for me for a very long time. I still love it. And this does kind of remind me of that, but this is definitely, again, more glowy on the skin. So I do have things in my collection that it does kind of remind me of, but this is definitely on the very glowy, hydrating end of the spectrum. So those are kind of my initial thoughts as of now, but I'm gonna wear this all day, like I said, or for the rest of the day. It's about 3:15 right now, so I can't wear it a super long time, but I'll wear it as long as I can. And we'll do a check-in, and I'll see you a little bit later, and we'll wrap up the video. Okay, it's been a few hours. I just wanted to show you in natural light before I lose the natural light, since it's starting to get darker earlier. But this is what it looks like. So as you can see, I mean, it looks beautiful. I really love how it looks. It is very glowy though, as you could see. And this is just with that Fenty Invisimatte powder. So, you know, if I'd use like more of a heavy duty setting powder, maybe it would look a little bit less shiny. I didn't today. I mean, it still looks beautiful in my opinion, but I did just want to show you what it looks like. I'm just standing in front of a window right here, but I mean, it looks really good on my skin. I have no complaints at all at this point. I mean, I think it looks beautiful. It looks very natural, looks very smooth on my skin, but I just wanted to show in natural light before the sun goes down. But I will wear this for a few more hours and then I'll come back and we will wrap up the video. But so far, I mean, as you can see, I don't think there's much to complain about. It's beautiful. It is a little bit glowy though, but I'll see you in a few hours. All right, it's the end of the day, or it's the end of my day. I'm about to take my makeup off, but I wanted to close out the video and kind of give you my thoughts on this Victoria Beckham foundation. So it's been on just over 5 hours. Usually I wear things longer than this, but I got started a little bit later today, so that just wasn't in the cards for today. But I did want to share what I think of this so far. So it still looks beautiful on my skin. I don't notice anything unusual at all. It doesn't look like it's worn away or really anything. I also feel like, I don't know, I feel like maybe it's not quite as shiny as it was earlier, which doesn't really make sense, but I do feel like I'm pretty matte all over, other than like this cheek area right here, but I didn't use any powder there, so that makes sense. But my skin doesn't look overly oily to me, although in the natural light clip earlier, you could see there's definitely a good bit of glow, but I don't know. On my skin right now, it doesn't look that glowy to me, and it doesn't look like it's worn away. It looks really nice on my skin. So the question is this worth the money? Honestly, I would say probably not, just because you're mainly paying for the Augustinus Bader name and the TFCA complex that's included in this product. And my thought would be, are you using enough of this product to get the benefit of it having the TFC8 in it? I don't know. Probably not. For someone like me, I have a ton of makeup and I'm trying new things all the time. I'm switching out what I'm using all the time. So I'm not even going to be using this consistently. So for me, probably not. Of course, I bought it for review purposes and because I want you guys to know what I think of it. But am I going to be using this all the time to really see a benefit? No. Now, if someone, a regular beauty consumer that's using this every day, maybe you would see a difference in your skin, or maybe you would get some type of benefit from the skincare in here, but I don't know. Depends on the frequency and how much of the product that you're using. But is it a nice skin tint? Absolutely. It's super luxurious. This whole brand is really luxurious. So I'm not surprised at the price point, really. I mean, like I said earlier, I did kind of gasp when I saw it, but anything with Augustinus Bader involved is going to be more expensive. That's just the way it is. I mean, the moisturizer is like $300, $400. I'm not even sure. But it is a beautiful product. I will continue to wear it because I like this kind of product for every day, and then I just like it with a fuller coverage concealer. So I will continue to use it, and I'll update you if I have additional thoughts on it. But my thoughts right now are it's a beautiful skin tint, but it's very expensive for a skin tint. The only thing that would make this cost this amount of money would be the Augustinus Bader peptide complex in here. So is that going to be worth it for most people? I don't know. Probably not. I also think this is going to be the best for normal to dry skin. I could see more mature skin liking this unless you have oily skin and you have more mature skin, then maybe not. I think this is going to be too hydrating and too glowy for someone with oily skin if I had to guess. Could you use a setting powder and make it less glowy? Yes, but I still think you're going to get a lot of glow throughout the day, most likely if you have oily skin. So overall, I think it's a nice product. I think it's a good addition to her line of products, and I think it makes sense with her line, but it's very pricey. Is it beautiful on my skin though? Yes. So I hope you enjoyed the review. I hope it was helpful. I will list this, of course, and all the other Victoria Beckham products in the description box that I used. I will link as many as I can in YouTube shopping as well. If you do shop through my links, I do make a commission and it supports me and this channel. So thank you so much for that. And if you're new, I would love for you to stick around, subscribe, watch some more of my videos if you want. We would love to have you here. And also make sure to follow me over on Instagram at simply.blair and TikTok simply.blair1. And I will see you again very soon. Remember, simply be you.